When it comes to filtering by date fields in Access, a lot of what we've already seen with text fields and numeric fields can come into play. So our first step is to create that new query in Design based on our customers table. Again, I'd like to see their first name and their last name, and then we're going to deal with some of the date fields. Now, the main date field that actually interests us is the date they made a first purchase. And if we view, we can see that shows us the actual date that they bought something from us. That is the date they first bought something from us. So if we want to filter by this date, because we've got so many records, we can go into the criteria and just place a date in that we'd like to search for. So let's try out September 17, 09. When I click away, this is the interesting bit with dates. You'll notice that Access puts hashes around my date value and changes the year into a 4-digit year. So although I only typed 09, it's turned that into 2009. Now it's the hashes that tell Access that it's dealing with a date. If you type a value in and it doesn't put the hashes, then it's not recognizing it as a date for whatever reason. Possibly you've done February the 31st or something, which isn't actually a date. You could put the hashes yourself, just as you could put the speech marks yourself, but if you know you've put a date format, Access will spot it. So now I'm looking at date first purchased being equal to. Notice I don't need to put the equals, just as I didn't with the numbers, nor with the text value. When I then view, these should be all 9/17/2009, and they are. Just 5 purchases made on that particular day. And just like the numeric values, we can do greater than and less than, which in date terms means before or after. So let's see if there were any purchases before this date by using the less than symbol, but still keeping the date within those hash strings. What about after that date? Well, because we know there are 18,000 records, we know this is going to work. And we view and see everybody except the first 5 that were actually on that date. These are all after that date. Greater than is after, less than is before, and we can put in the equal sign as well. So greater than or equal to. Notice it has to go after the more than symbol. View, and then that effectively is all of our data, because all of our purchases were made on or after 9/17/2009. Let's edit the year, change that to 2010, and then say less than or equal to. And then that's everybody prior to September 17, 2010. So all of those will work. More than equal to, less than equal to. Even the not equal to will work. So not equal to 9/17/2010 gives me everybody except any purchases made on that date, which, looking at the total records, would lead me to believe that there were 8 actually on that date. So all of those comparisons work, and the between works. Now the between is really good with dates. So we can say between base, let's go for 1/1/10 and 12/31/10. That way I'll get the whole sales for a whole year. Now if I leave that row, let's see if it's hashed everything up. Now you can widen these columns, and I see that it has managed to spot these as dates and has given me the hashes. Sometimes you will find that it doesn't give you the hashes, it puts speech marks around them, where it doesn't recognize what you're typing as a date. So just need to double check every time, or always type the hashes yourself anyway. So that should be everybody whose date they first purchased something is at some point in 2010. Remembering that the between and the and criteria includes the lower and the outer values. View, and we find that we had 2,508 of our customers made their first purchase in 2010. So let's save that. Save as QRY 2010 started. Okay, back into design, and let's see how many started the year after. So how many new customers did we get in 2011? View, 5,400, so a lot more. Save as, otherwise we'd be overwriting our 2011. So those appear in our list. 2010 started, 2011 started. And just like all the other queries, should I need to rerun them, I simply double click them from the list. So the date field will understand all of the same operators that a numeric field understands. Access will put hash marks around a date field so that it knows it's a date and so that you recognize that Access knows it's a date. Now with the date field, quite commonly, you might want to use the date function, which is a function that returns today's date. So in the date first purchased, if I want to find out those customers who bought things from us in the last year, and that last year means the last 365 days, then I can add a criteria that says greater than or equal to today's date. So that's the date function, DATE, open and close brackets, take away 365. So we take today's date, we take 365 days from that, so that takes us to a year ago, and then we return all of the values that match that criteria. So any date that is after this criteria here. And when I click out of this cell, you'll see the only thing that Access does is give me a capital D on the date function. I then view, and we see that there have been quite a few purchases in the last year. Now that last year is a rolling year. Every time I run this, it will be the last 12 months. So to speak, it will be the last 365 days. So I could run this in 3 months' time, and it will still look at the last 365 days. That's a very useful little ability there to use the date function. So let's do a save as for that. QRY started in last 12 months. Okay, so by using the date function to work out what today's date is, we've created a fairly dynamic query that is really moving its boundaries every time it runs, because it keeps looking at a different range of 365 days.